Keep assuming until your old results stop controlling you. You know, the life that you're looking at right now, it's not the final word on who you are. It's not the truth about what is possible for you. It's the physical expression of old thinking, old assumptions, old emotional patterns, old decisions, and an old self-image that has been repeated for long enough to become visible. That means that your current results are not instructions. They're echoes of your past thinking. Now, the danger is that most people treat the echo like a command. So they look at their income and let it tell them what kind of person they are. Sales feel slow, people do not reply, the bank account looks the same, content does not perform how they hoped, and suddenly the mind creates a whole story about failure, rejection, and whether the dream is even realistic. And then they say, I'm just being honest about my current reality. But most of the time, no, they're not being honest. They're being hypnotized. They're letting their old results control their assumptions. And once that happens, they start recreating the same reality without even realizing it. This is why you've got to keep assuming. Not because you're pretending like your life is perfect, not because you're ignoring responsibility. You keep assuming because the assumption begins building the new version of you before the outside world has caught up. Neville Goddard is a fantastic author, and he taught that an assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. My mentor, Bob Proctor, taught that the subconscious mind accepts ideas through repetition, emotion, and image, and then expresses itself through body, behavior, and results. So when I say keep assuming, I'm talking about the discipline of holding a new image until your thinking and your actions and circumstances rearrange themselves around it. What do most people do? They assume a new reality for a few days and then look at the bank account and immediately fall back to fear. They write the goal, feel excited, then one conversation doesn't go their way and they start questioning everything. That's not creation. That's just repetition with better intentions. And I can relate. I know what that place feels like. When I was earning £15,000 a year, I could have let that become my identity. I could have said no. I could have said, this is who I am. This is my level. This is what life has decided for me. And if I would have done that, I would have stayed where I was, because the moment you accept an old identity as reality, you begin thinking, feeling, and acting in harmony with it. I had to stop living from what had already happened and begin assuming from where I was going. I had to build the image of a different man before the world recognized that version of Joel. I had to stop asking my current circumstances for permission to become successful. Listen, your bank account does not get to vote on your future. Your past does not get to decide who you're about to become. And the person who did not reply does not get to define your value. Let them go. A slow week does not get to name your identity. The old result is only powerful when you stay emotionally attached to it. This is where assumption becomes discipline. You assume when the evidence looks like the opposite. You assume when no one's clapping. You assume when your nervous system wants to panic. And you assume when the old self whispers, maybe this isn't working. Because that's the moment that your new identity gets tested. Now, anyone can assume after the result appears. Anyone can feel abundant when they receive the payment that day. Anyone can feel confident after a prospect says yes. Now, the creator holds the state before the evidence arrives. And holding the state does not mean sitting still. Real assumptions change how you move. So if you assume your business is growing, then you stop hiding from the actions that grow it. If you accept internally that clients are coming, then you show up with more certainty in your content, conversations, and follow-ups. If you assume that more money is normal for you, then you stop treating every financial decision like a threat. Assumption is not a replacement for action. It's the inner position that gives the power to action. The same message sent from neediness feels different from one sent by someone who knows they can help. The same offer made from insecurity lands differently than an offer made from conviction. This is why old results can be so controlling. They affect the state that you take the action from. They change your tone. They make you hesitate. They cause you to over-explain, chase, doubt, and second-guess yourself. And then you think that the action failed. But really, the action was just being expressed from the old self, your old identity. I saw this with my client, Peter. You know, Peter manifested £40,000 in sales in 1 month, but it didn't happen because he sat around hoping that money would just fall on his lap. Something changed inside of him first. He changed his will. He got more focused. He stopped scattering his attention and started directing his energy towards the result. Now, a practical thing that Peter did was dedicate 1 hour every morning purely to sales and follow-ups. Now, on the surface, someone could hear that and say, yeah, well, that's just strategy. But it's deeper than that. The action changed because the assumption changed. So Peter no longer was moving like someone hoping the business would work out. He was moving like someone who had accepted that the result was possible and that he was responsible for bringing it into form. That's the difference. The same hours of sales activity done from fear, doubt and pressure or desperation carries a completely different energy than the same hour that's done from certainty, focus and committed decisions. Peter's old results could have stayed controlling him. Now, he could have looked at what had not happened yet and allowed that to define his expectations. He could have said, you know what, maybe people are not buying, this is not working. Maybe I need to wait until things feel easier. But instead, Peter chose a different assumption and backed it with action. He focused on his will, he directed his mind, and he gave his mornings to the activity that moved the needle that matched the result. And because he was operating from a new internal state, the outside world began to respond differently. That's why Peter's story matters, okay? It shows that assumption is not passive. It's not sitting there imagining sales but avoiding the work. It's becoming the kind of person who naturally takes the actions that match the result. So here's a practical exercise that I want you to do, okay? I want you to write down the old result that keeps pulling you back. Maybe it's your current income, slow business growth, low engagement, lack of replies, maybe debt, pressure at home, or someone close to you who's doubting whether you can do this or not. And then I want you to ask yourself, what have I been assuming because of this result? Maybe because sales have been slow, you've been assuming that people are not interested. Because money's felt tight, you might have been assuming that you can't make powerful decisions. Because things didn't work in the past, maybe part of you expects the future to be the same. So I want you to get the old assumption out of your head and onto a piece of paper. Now, once you can see it, you can stop letting it run in your mind automatically and then write a new assumption. Keep it in present tense and connect it to the reality that you're choosing. Something like, I'm the kind of person who creates more money with clarity, confidence, and consistent action. Or the right clients are moving towards my work and I show up with certainty every day. Now, read that assumption every morning and every night. Read it with feeling. I want you to see it. I want you to enter into the state of it. And then take one action each day from that new assumption, especially when the old result is trying to scare you. So if fear says, do you know what, don't follow up, and the new identity says, follow up, I want you to send that message. If the old pattern says, hide until you feel ready, but your future self says, show up now, show up. Every action from the new self, from the new assumption, is a vote for the new identity. Your old results may have momentum for a while. Your bank account might not match the assumption straight away. People might still ignore your messages sometimes, but that don't mean that nothing's happening. A seed does not look like a harvest when it's underground. The early stages of transformation can look invisible from the outside, but inside, the roots are forming. So don't dig up the seed every day because you can't fully see the fruit yet, okay? Some thoughts are just the echoes of the old program. Some fears are memories dressed up in predictions. Now, the old self will point to your circumstances and say, see, this is who I am. Your work is to answer internally, no, this is what I am moving through. It's not who I'm becoming, okay? That distinction will change your life, I promise you. Now, a temporary circumstance is not a permanent identity. A slow season is not a failed future, and a quiet month is not proof that your goal is impossible. Old results are only dangerous when they become the basis of your assumption. So keep assuming until they lose authority. Keep assuming until your actions naturally match your new self, your new self-image. Keep assuming until your inner conversation is no longer dominated by what happened in the past. Your old results are an enemy, right? They show you what has been accepted up to this point. But the moment you become aware, you can choose again. So today, stop letting the echo lead you. Choose the assumption that matches the life that you're creating and return to it every morning. Sleep in it every night. Act from it every single day. And when that old self tries pulling you back, remember this. It's only loud because it's familiar. Familiar does not mean final. So keep assuming, keep moving, and keep living from the image until your old results stop controlling you.